here from VAP and ADO, and before we get this video started, I just want to say that I am almost intimidated about presenting this new VAP line because it is the most extreme sample project I've ever heard in my life, both custom and commercially speaking. There's simply nothing like it around. And in this video, as you're going to see, we're going to take a closer look at our 10-piece drum machine ensemble. Not drum kits, because we also have that, but these are actually drum machines that were put in a massive array. So you have 10 different drum machines playing in the same hall that we use for our 8W and Imperium choral collections, and we also used it for our H, Cage, and Claire series on ADO. And it's an enormous sound. It's almost hard to describe. And the premise for the VAP Extreme series was really like, let's try to make some ensembles that's never been done before. We obviously took it to the next level in terms of our 240-piece 8W orchestra, and we took it equally far with our 200-piece Imperium choir. But in this case, we really wanted to do something different. But as you're going to see in this video, I'm going to be playing around with our 10-piece drum machine ensemble. And then we also have additional videos for all the other ensemble types, including a 10-piece analog synthesizer ensemble, a 10-piece electric guitar ensemble, and that's both with DI and amplifiers. And we did exactly the same for our electric bass ensemble. So you have 10 different basses playing at the same time as well with amps and so forth. And to wrap it up, we also have our 10-piece analog drum kit. So essentially you have a 50-person mega ensemble, 10 people playing drum machines, 10 people playing synthesizers, 10 people playing both electric guitars, and another 10 people playing basses, and then you got 10 drum kits on top of that. But let me just get started here. There's only one way to describe it, and that's not to describe it, but actually just listen to it. Let me also just, before we get started, preface that in this video, I'm only going to be focusing on our hall microphones. This library goes very deep. It's not only that you have 5 different libraries in the collection, but each of them are sort of divided into 2 additional libraries. You have one, for example, in this case here, where you got our hall microphones. We have 5 different hall microphones. You can see them right here. We got our mixed, Decca, far, wide, and close. But I also have another video featuring the drums here as well, where you have 10 different microphone positions. We have spot mics for each of the players, and that goes for all the VIP Extreme Ensemble series, that you actually have 5 hall microphones, and then you have additional 10 spot microphones for each of the players. So for example, in this case, if you like drum machine number 2, 7, and 8, you can isolate them, or if you want to isolate specific synthesizers or guitars, whatever it is, you can do that as well. But for the purpose of sort of simplicity and clarity, because there's so much content in this collection, we're going to do 2 videos for each of the libraries, one featuring the hall microphones here and another one featuring the spot mics. So we have another video here featuring the drum machines using their spot mics as well. But let's just get started. Let me play just a little piece here using the drum machine ensemble mixed microphone position, and just wait, you've never heard drum machines like this. And it's kind of funny, one of the things we learned when we recorded the drum machines is obviously a drum machine is only capable of producing the same sound every time you hit the pad. But because we recorded in the hall, and because we had 10 different players playing at the same time, there is so much variation in the sound that we actually ended up doing round robin or repetition samples for each of them. So you actually have multiple repetitions per drum sound. So whether it's the large assortment of bass drums or snares or hi-hats or toms or cymbals and everything going in, you actually have multiple variations. And you can see here, each of these keys down here represent a different articulation in the drum ensemble. But you can also do a lot more. For example, in the next example here, I sort of narrowed down the microphones. So this is using our Decca and Close microphone. It has a way more funky and sort of tight sound. And you probably heard there's some interesting sounds, sort of some other delays, and that's actually using our new textual delay. So it's not only that we have our stereo delay, but we've also added a bunch of new textural convolution delays, meaning that it's not just a traditional delay like down here, but you can actually add an additional texture inside of your delay, and that was the sort of unique otherworldly sound on top of the groove. Let me try another example here. This is another preset, also sort of in the more funky pop-like realm, and again you can see it's only using the close mics in this one, and it really gives that awesome tight sound. And as I also show here, you can actually control a variety of aspects of the drums. Obviously you got your ADSR here. In this case I turned the offset up, so it's a little more tight. The samples are starting a little further in terms of their sample start point, and it just gives an even more tight sound to it. And obviously here you can also play around with filters and assign filters to your mod wheel. And there are so many presets in the library, it's kind of insane. Let me try this one here. This is our big beat, sort of hard rocky kind of sounding kit. It's a lot more wide and open than the previous one we listened to. And in this case, it's using our closed microphone and our far microphone. And as you know, with all our libraries, you can always right-click on any component in the library and assign it to whatever controller you want. And in this case, I've assigned the volume of the far mic to my controller. So while the groove is playing, I'm going to be dialing in the far microphone here so you can sort of get a larger perspective and really give you a good feeling for how much difference there actually is from the close to the far microphone. So yeah, check it out. And as you can hear in this example, we also had some of our textual delays on this one, sort of giving a little more uniqueness to it. But isn't it cool the way you can dial it in? You can really do a lot of interesting things sort of by dialing in the microphones back and forth. And obviously you can do it with all 5 mics if you wanted to do that. And in the case of the spot microphones, you can obviously do it with all of them as well. And as I mentioned earlier, you can always assign any controller you want, of course, to different components. In the case of most of the presets, we actually have the filter assigned to the mod wheel. Let me just try to demonstrate that actually. Again, you can assign both low and high pass filter, but you can do some really, really cool things, particularly because the sound is so big. So once you go from low pass and you sort of let it go and open up the sound, it sounds brutally big. I mean, if you played that to anyone, including myself, did I not know that it was actually drum machines, I would have said, all right, that is like the most beefy, sweaty, big taiko, whatever drum ensemble. And it's actually just people sitting with drum machines playing together in a large hall. Super cool. One of my favorite elements in the Extreme Ensembles series, and this goes for all the libraries, is the ability to really play around with the microphones. In this case, I've loaded 3 different ones. If you watch closely down here, you can see I'm going to be dialing in real time between different microphones. And it's just to show you again how much you can do having that many microphones at your disposal. And again, this is just a whole mic, so you have additional 10 microphones for each of the spot positions as well, which I'm demonstrating in another video. But yeah, let's just keep it humble for now, sort of, by using our close, far, and Decca mic in combination. Let me just try to do that again. This time around, I'm really going to be dialing from more dry position and into like major wetness, just so you can hear how different they actually sound. So I'll start ultra dry and then we'll go into like major oceanic wetness towards the end. And this example is actually great because it almost shows you in how many different types of mixes this can be used. Obviously, one of the issues when you record in a hall is that sometimes it can be hard to get to sit in a mix. But because we have all the spot mics and we had the ability to generate really close microphone positions on top of the wet ones here, you can really dial in the perspective exactly as you want. Let me show you another little funny trick here with the library. In this case, I'll just be playing something very generic and then I'll be dialing in on the filter. But in this case, I have the high pass filter on here. So it's going to start very, very sort of high frequenced, and then we'll sort of dial into the full masculine sound of the ensemble. And that, my friend, is exactly why we call it Extreme Ensembles. Like, this is the biggest sound I've ever heard when it comes to ensemble drums, and it's freaking drum machines. But wait till you hear the acoustic drum kits as well, and especially wait till you hear the whole thing played together. It is insane what this library can do in terms of bigness. Let me also just give you a little demonstration here of our hi-hats and cymbals and stuff. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, each of the keys down here symbolizes different sounds. So let me just show you a couple of the cymbals and hi-hats as well. We also made some more mainstream kind of patches out of the drum ensemble. In this case, it's a much more tight sounding. It's almost like, I want to say it's like a hip hop sound. It's more groovy and all that stuff. And obviously you have the 10 spot microphones, and I really encourage you to watch that video because there's so much more you can do in terms of more studio EDM, more modern, tighter friendly sounds when it comes to the spot microphones. But even with the full ensemble here, you can actually do some pretty tight things. Let me just share another one here. We made this sort of minimalistic sounding kit as well from the ensemble. And we have a bunch more presets in the library. I'm only sort of taking a little stab at all the stuff here. And obviously there's so many different things you can do with the microphone positions, using all the different controllers here, envelopes, offset filters, all that stuff. We also have an arpeggiator that we haven't even got into. This is a little more useful for synthesizers and guitars and basses and all that stuff, but you can actually use it on the drums if you want as well. And obviously we have our Chaos Effects page here as well. And as you can see, we've actually added a few more elements here, which are really cool for synthesis and guitars and basses and all that stuff. So there's a lot you can do. But let me just wrap up the video here by playing the full ensemble in its full-blown, epic, masculine, superpower capacity. This is really one of my favorite, if not my favorite ensemble sound right now when it really comes to big stuff. So yeah, man, I hope you're gonna give it a go, and I highly encourage you to watch the video with our spot microphones as well. Again, we have 10 different spot microphones, one for each of the players in all the ensembles, including the drum machines here. And there's really a lot of stuff you can do with the spot mics that you can't do with the hall mics here. These are great for really big sounding stuff and like crazy kits and all that stuff. But if you want to get a little more tight and really explore more variation in the sound, we have all the spot mics for that. And trust me, things sound completely different when it comes to those. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this little journey, and I'm gonna wrap it up here with a little piece featuring our 10-piece drum machine ensemble.